Hello, Gravy Timothy, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, where we're really in the twilight moment of the game right now, because it's right before the new DLC comes out, and it's promising to change a lot. And obviously, in a series where we're looking at every focus tree and picking the worst paths, it's pretty interesting that upcoming is a major rework to Germany, the central protago in the game. Obviously, this means there's going to be a lot of discussion about reworking a lot of older nations, specifically the UK, the US, and Japan, who all desperately need a little sprinkle of love. Now, in our adventure of checking out every single nation in Hearts of Iron 4 and doing their worst focus tree paths, we're now looking at the UK. Now, the UK, like the US, got a sprinkle of love during Man the Guns, where they got plenty of new stuff to do, a lot of that being their alt history paths over here. Now, it ain't gonna surprise anybody when I say there is single-handedly only one worst path for the UK, and that is simply going decolonization. Now, the single worst part about decolonization is, sure, if it gave you something good, you'd really do it. But it doesn't. It actually just makes your game worse through the damn lag you get from releasing all of these nations. Now, as Paradox have actually made quite a few adjustments to how the game runs, it's not too bad nowadays, but you can definitely notice a pretty big slowdown every time you go over here. And considering Focus to Z is all about checking out the worst focus trees, we already know this is bad. I've covered it plenty of time, I've ragged on it a whole bunch. Instead, I'm going to do the complete opposite. So if we're not doing the worst path in the game, what path are we doing? Now, if we're looking at the old history paths over here, we already know that we can't do concessions to the trade unions because that requires decolonization, so we're not going over there. And Organizer Black Shirts is definitely not underpowered in any way. It's super overpowered, because if you do the exploit that I've shown on the channel before, where you actually declare on all the dominions, you can skip them all breaking away after you actually flip ideologies, and then also go on to take the US, get cores on them if you go down the Imperial Federation route. Same with the King's Party over here. It's pretty insane what you can do in these two focuses. Yeah, on top of that as well, if you go down Organizer Black Shirts, of course, you can also go and unite Europe, which is just insane. Definitely not a bad path. And then over here, steady as she goes, we get the Home Defense, which is the full historical path, and Global Defense, which is kind of like a reworked version of the historical path, where you just get Churchill earlier and you go a bit more on the aggressive. And again, it's another super overpowered one. If you go down to Enforce the Naval Treaties, you can actually go ahead, as you see right there, get free war goals on everybody if they refuse to actually limit their navies, which I'm pretty sure the AI usually does, so it's pretty easy to get around the having a larger navy than everyone at the start as well by just deleting ships. So if we're not gonna go ahead and do the worst path, and you've explained how all the other paths are good, what does that leave us with? Oh, hold on to your hats, little Timothy, because we're doing something unfounded, something unbelievable. We're going to do historical UK. This is going to be a pretty brave statement, but I think if you're not going down the decolonization route, there is only one other path that is really considered bad and not very fun, in my opinion, and that's the historical path for the UK. Now, in all fairness, the historical path, in considering what you can actually do, is simply limited to home defense over here. That is the historical path. Everything else outside of revisit colonial policy is shared between all the paths, which I think is a bit dumb. Right, hot takes with iSorrowproductions. The UK is cringe. Now, I get it. It's a old tree, and it's not horrendous in terms of some nations. Japan's is definitely a lot worse considering the historical precedents, but the fact that the UK was in it from the start to the end, there's not a lot to do here. I mean, just looking at home defense alone, and you look at what we have down here, secure Belgium, secure the Netherlands, Benelux intervention. This is the historical path, and you can never really ever do these. First off, you need them to have actual political support in the nations to even unlock it, which you're never gonna get unless you're off non-historical, and by the time you'd even get to these, if it somehow does happen, you don't even get to have the war goals anyway, because Germany's already overran them. So all you're really left for in the historical branch of home defense is this right here. This is literally all you get, and once again, they are not worth doing for the simple fact, why are you going to embargo Germany? By the time you're here, you're already fighting them. Get a goal on Germany? Guess what? You're already fighting them. Let's go ahead. Let's have some fun as historical UK. I mean, I kind of get that maybe they were going for the fact that the UK was obviously going down the policy of appeasement, especially in this historical path over here, but it doesn't really show too much in the game because you don't get to appease anything. You don't get to say no to the Rhineland because obviously the French get that decision, but you do get the one on the Czechs, and that is it. Poland can't even join your faction unless you guarantee them. If you forget to guarantee them, Germany just gets them for free. Oh, I can do Scandinavian intervention. Why not, eh? I mean, it might actually get these unlocked later on. We'll see, but it is a completely pointless focus, which I'm making sure to do because I'm going to enjoy the full focus tree today. I've been proved wrong. There is actually a point to Scandinavian intervention. Look at that. I can go in on Norway because they refused to actually give it to trade with the damn Germans. It also makes the Americans hate me, though, which probably isn't a great thing. Could be wrong on this, but I'm not entirely sure that focus used to always give you that event. Again, I could be wrong. I never go down here, and if I do, it's after the fall of Norway. Oh, here we go, Meta Straps. Just got Shadow Scheme unlocked because I am technically now fighting the Norwegians. The real sad part here is I don't even want the Norwegians. I don't know what I'm really going to do here. Guess I'll just puppet them and get a free puppet on them, and Germany will eventually take them down regardless because they will get their goals on them. So, British Norway, there you go. And that was too much for Stanley Baldwin, apparently. Wait, Carlos Spain? Am I a non-historical? What's happening? I mean, that ain't right. I mean, I did invade Norway, so that might have broken something. I don't know. Still not too sure where exactly I'm going to go doctrine-wise today. The UK does fit Grand Battle Plan pretty well because we're pretty much everywhere. We've got to do a lot of planning, a lot of naval invading, and a lot of sitting around with infantry. We can't really afford to do tanks, although I'm going to ignore that today, and I'm going to do tanks. Like I said, we don't really get any choices on our appeasement. We get this one option right here, essentially, and we are just going to keep it historical and say goodbye, Czechoslovakia. And believe it or not, actually letting the Czechs fall is the worst option there. It's very, very easy to just gank Germany at the start if you just say no to either the Rhineland or the Czechs. So, yeah, it would be fun to do it because we don't do it, but that is not the point of the series. We're not here to have fun. You ever too worried about what to do as the UK at the start of the game with your navy? What I usually do, put all your fleet together in one big blob, split half of it off, have it just patrol pretty much around your coast so you don't get naval invaded. Then go ahead, send the other half that you have split over to the Mediterranean. Then make sure you set all the submarines from those, all the crappy ones you start with, just to go raid over here, and that will get rid of Italy in Ethiopia immediately. I guess we also have the Norwegian fleet. I don't know why I got sent to Malta, but I guess we'll go ahead and just whack those in with the Mediterranean guys. Yeah, and then I do go ahead and start building a brand new fleet as well, just of light cruisers and destroyers, and I will have those guys go deal with the Japanese. And then for what I'll actually do, I'll immediately go to Africa if I'm playing a historical UK game, ignore France altogether, put my main army on the border with the Italians, and take all my puppet troops and whack them in Ethiopia. But yeah, just taking your puppet troops at the start of the game is completely fine. Just whack them over there. It means you can actually focus on building just a really good, powerful army right off the bat and not have to worry about holding both of these fronts. Plus, it is damn easy to push Italy straight out of Libya. All you need to do, though, is make sure you actually build the supply up here. Usually just like one port should do it, and then get the airport down as well so you can just cast them out. Don't tell me I don't still have interesting tidbits for you. But yeah, I seriously got no idea how Carlos Spain actually popped out. I really don't know what, and they're actually kind of doing well. My God, I could do Norwegian intervention. I mean, why wouldn't I do that? I already own them. He knows how it's 1939. I still can't do anything over here. Hey, here comes our content. Germany is going in on Poland, and like I said, make sure you remember to guarantee them, just like Lithuania is. What is happening this game? And here we go. Yeah, I could go into France, and I think we'd actually be able to hold it pretty damn easy, but that's not the point. We want to do this, I guess, the more fun way and do it fully historical and let them go to a better place. Sorry, France. I'm not sorry, friend. Okay, another super handy thing you can obviously do is preempt the fact you're going to be annoyed by the German submarines everywhere and get a whole bunch of naval bombers. They're cheap as hell and they'll destroy all the submarines if you catch them coming out. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let the Italians off free in North Africa. Germany declared on British Norway. I'm sure I'll come to your aid soon. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, it's just comically easy to run over North Africa, and also Ethiopia, if you can't really tell, ain't moving a damn inch, which is another good reason why you could just put all your puppet troops there, because they won't attack into it. And we have a lot of troops there regardless, so the AI is probably terrified. And yeah, Italian shipping has definitely fared better. And there you go. We have cleaned up one major front of WW2 that took a bit longer than the 2 seconds I just took right there to deal with it. Realize what? I'm assuming this is added with the Scandinavian DLC, but we can actually just go in on Sweden as well. That might actually be where they rework the Scandinavian intervention thing for you actually to get some goals. This most certainly isn't what I was planning, but we've been given the option. Now, I'm not, again, entirely sure what to even do here, but I guess we'll just go ahead and puppet Sweden? No, I'll take them and then release them just so that we don't get the liberated gunman thing on them. I didn't even have enough points to take them all. Okay, well, that ain't my problem. I guess, you know, you can just hang out down there. Yeah, because I think I actually did Scandinavian intervention. We do get the option of getting Lord Halifax, which I'm obviously not going to do because he is the better option if you're going for the Imperial Federation, as you don't have to do the Indian autonomy focus, and you just bypass that, go straight down. So instead, we'll get the Bulldog himself and get him in power. And we have gone ahead with our puppet troops, just push them out of Ethiopia. And I won't disband these guys after. I will just put them on the Vichy French land. They did take Syria, though. That's good. So we only have to worry about Africa, so that when they do get involved, we will have somebody guarding the border, because my troops are now in Scandinavia. Yeah, now that we have used those submarines down there to choke the Italians out, we'll just go ahead, put them in the Mediterranean. Now, this is where they'll probably all get blown up, but that ain't my problem. It's kind of interesting. The Battle of Britain in this scenario has turned into the Battle of the Eastern North Sea. Yeah, that's where I'm contesting the German air the most, and it is for good reason. Obviously, I want to catch all their submarines coming out in port, and they are actually putting all their submarines out to raid, because obviously I now have to worry about getting supply into Scandinavia. Actually have been catching the Italian fleet, which is great. We've sunk the majority of it, but in the time that my fleet went on repair, because I had it on high repair, they went ahead and naval invaded Malta. So I did say I'm doing tanks. That was not a meme. It's just a bit of a lesser priority for the UK. You kind of have to get all the planes out, all the boats out, all the infantry out, and now we can finally get stuff on the offensive. Spain actually just went ahead and joined the Axis. I was not prepared for that one. Weirdly, they haven't joined in on my actual side of the fight. I think they just started a new one, so that we're kind of safe, and I'm going to keep it that way for now. It's really weird, because I can even go ahead and send them a attaché. I think we're safe with the Spain thing for now. I'm going to keep some troops there just in case, although I don't think it's going to do too much. I got like a level 10 fort on the way there, so that'll hopefully keep them at bay, and now we're going to need to figure out where we're going next. Historically, obviously, we were going for the soft underbelly that was Italy, so I think we'll start there. Okay, currently just beating down the Italian Air Force the best we can. I don't know how exactly this counts as yellow air right now. I've got 1,400 fighters, and the Italians are losing like 16 a day in comparison. Oh, I didn't realize you left the faction, Ethiopia. I guess you can hang out with Brazil. Why exactly they didn't join my Oh, it's because the US isn't in my faction, because I haven't joined the US. Oh, I didn't realize Japan already had it. Okay, that's my bad, I guess. Shucks. You know what? You guys got it for now. I'll come over there in a second. Let me deal with this. Okay, so that's Italy pretty much dealt with already, and a few of my tanks are almost ready to come out. In fact, I think I'm just going to pop them out anyway, and we'll get them straight to the front. And of course, this fall of Italy was brought to you by the unstoppable power of Cass. Oh, America finally just joined my faction, and I I guess you're coming into these? Wow, we actually just got a full capitulation before they actually deposed Chef Boyardee over here. Hey, Vichy France is in, which means that is exactly where I'm going to be pushing next. I don't really feel like tackling this. Yeah, the impassable terrain does not make it too fun to even attempt to go that way, so we're gonna go the easier way. Okay, now that we've actually capitulated Vichy France, I'm finally gonna go ahead and well, I can't even justify on Spain. Oh yeah, I finally need to get involved with Spain for the simple fact they could just march into France's land because they're fighting and I'm not fighting, so I can't do anything about it. And I'm gonna get called into fighting Japan as well here, but that's just an issue that we'll get to later. We'll get around to it. Okay, there goes Spain. I also took the liberty of slowly annexing my subjects. We've got the Raj down. We're working on Canada and South Africa next, and I guess we'll do the Imperial Conference. Also, if you want a free tip, because I'm handing them out for free today, apparently. In fact, no, if you want this tip, you gotta go down below, hit the like, subscribe, and then comment, please, for the love of Jesus, just give me the tip. Okay, you've done it. Well, if you actually want to lower your subjects' autonomy and they're already up to Dominion, you'll notice that you won't be able to actually build anything like factories or useful stuff. So what you can do is build ports in them. You can do ports, you can do railways, you can do infrastructure. You just can't do the stuff you'd normally do like forts or any other random crap, but the ports work just fine and they will still lower their autonomy. I mean, you could just also lend lease them a bunch of crap, but this is working just fine too because I have a gargantuan industry at this point. Also, shout out to Brazil. They've expanded a little, I see. Then obviously when you've knocked them down from Dominion status, you can just go ahead and build whatever you'd want in them again. Okay, this shall be the nail in the coffin for the Germans. They actually did pretty well against the Soviets. I think they even took Stalingrad at one point, but yeah, didn't go too well for too long. I have not stepped foot in Asia this entire game, so I think it's time we also finally get that fleet we've been building over there. There's also just a random carrier in there. You know what? I'll take it. Well, you know, for a second I thought that was Italy, but no, in fact that's Portugal. Portugal naval invaded and took this land. And there you go. Germany capitulated, and they actually capitulated to me fully and not the Soviets, which means, you know, I've been doing a good job. Okay, never seen this before. Why is my arrow all the way back there? Oh, look at that. Cherry on top of the capitulation of the Axis there. Okay, Germany capitulated. It's now time to move east. I have sent my new navy over there to start catching Japanese boats, which they're doing very nicely. Oh yeah, very, very nicely. Oh, and more. Okay, yeah, I think it's safe to say Japanese fleet not feeling too great. I always find this event really funny when you get it when Turkey demands your colonies off you and you just reply, no, this is neo-colonialism and cannot and will not be tolerated. Anyway, back to normal colonizing again. Watch as a New Zealand autonomy disappears in front of your eyes. I spend every single resource available to the British Empire to cover the entire island in ports. Didn't really talk about the peace conference we had going in Europe, but yeah, it's pretty much an iron curtain, but we snuck the poles out. And there you go, just about the most interesting thing you can do as historical and democratic UK. The Commonwealth of Nations has been born. I gotta say, one of the best things Paradox did, I think it was in the summer update patches, was they actually like kind of tweaked the amount of war participation you get from sinking ships. So if you actually look, I got 11% war participation. That's from 7,298 of sinking Japanese boats, which is a really nice change because it didn't feel like, for the most part, going for navies, if you wanted to just get a bit of participation going, especially in the Japan-China war, was ever worth it. But now it does actually pay quite a bit. Of course, it doesn't really matter too much when China has 9 million casualties, and that gives them 4,500 points. Don't worry, China, I'll liberate you, and whilst I'm here, I'm gonna dump off 10 tons of opium just for old time's sake. Oh, I think something may be going on in Europe. Oh, might as well put an end to this one. I just want to note that that was not me, and also that probably wasn't very necessary. China was in the peace deal up for the takings, I guess because they were so occupied, which is great news for me because I didn't have to worry about them taking all the damn land. Bad news is America got all of Japan and then immediately lost it all to the Soviet occupation state of Germany. I don't really know how. Well, whenever we get ourselves back from Asia, we'll go ahead and help them out in Europe. We also release China so that when we do get involved, we don't have to worry about holding this land anymore. Okay, fellas, no fear. Operation Unthinkable. Well, it already started, but I'm here. And yeah, Operation Unthinkable was so unthinkable. I haven't actually got a plan. I couldn't think of one. I did have like 1,000 bombers though, so they're gonna go ahead and have some fun. Realize this thing's been going on for not that long actually, and the casualties on both sides ain't looking great. Well, I guess considering you just got out of a big old thing with Germany, this probably ain't good. Hey, that went pretty easy. I don't really care too much about any of this land, but I guess I'll take the rest of Germany. I was actually expecting the AI to do much worse than that. Oh, well, I guess sometimes the AI does have it together. Well, there's not much really else to say. That was normal historical UK. Not too much actually happened because, unsurprisingly, it's a pretty boring focus tree. Now, it being boring doesn't mean it's bad. I think there is a lot of fun to be had in here, but in terms of scope and what actually happened during WW2, obviously, I don't think this focus tree really represents what, you know, the UK got up to. Yeah, I don't think it'll be too surprising if the UK does get a rework at some point. I mean, it probably won't be now or the next update or the update after that, but I do think it will be coming at some point. And the UK is kind of unique in a way with its focus tree because so much of it is just unlocked to every path you go. There's only a couple of paths, the obviously main political path and then the decolonization, that are separate. But I do think it definitely leaves you wanting more and a bit more of a unique difference between them all. And I do have to say, after the communist path, the historical path, it may actually be even worse. I mean, I'm in 1949 right now, and the only focuses I actually did over here was Scandinavian intervention, prepare for the inevitable, issue gas masks, and the Military Training Act. That's it. That's all I did. These two got bypassed down here. And I know you could be like, well, you could have gone into Iraq and Iran, but going into Iraq's completely pointless anyway, because you already have the resource rights at the start of the game. Iran, yeah, it probably is worth going into, but it's also just not necessary. So I think it's safe to say, historical UK, not very good. Even the alt history path that is kind of the offshoot of the historical path is way better with Churchill and stuff, so I would go for that if you're ever gonna play the UK. But it's definitely not the worst focus tree we've played. At least it's straightforward, and everything else over here is pretty mid. There's nothing spectacular other than the Imperial Federation to point out. I mean, the UK is definitely a really fun nation to play in Hoi 4 because obviously the position they're in, you got a lot of theaters, you got a lot of places you can go, you can do it historically, you can do it ahistorically. There's so much that you could do. You're in a great position. The focus tree is just a big letdown. Yeah, that's all I really gotta say here. I hope you enjoyed the video regardless, and let me know what your favorite path for the UK actually is. I think mine has to be the alt history democratic path that we didn't do with going with Churchill. I always usually do that one over any of the others. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think down below. Anyway, I'll catch you all on the flippity flip. Goodbye.